Hey guys, how you doing? Jeff here, and today, even though I have a tiny little itty bitty speck of verse known as YouTube in my corner, when I see something going wrong, whether it's from the Phantom Menace or Access Hollywood or anything else, I feel it's my prerogative to speak up about it. Now, this is kind of in response to the anti-tracker, Michael J. Crawford. And he spoke up when he thought he saw something going wrong with the Fandom Menace and said if he had a Fandom Menace card, he'd burn it because people are even the Fandom Menace are outright lying just because they objectionably hate lower decks. Now, I don't think I'm quite as far as anti-Trekker and that kind of resentment for the Phantom Menace, but if you look through my video past, you'll find the one where I said the Phantom Menace, we are becoming the very things we hate, and I think it's about time the Phantom Menace died the hero before it becomes the villain. And I have to admit, there are some people who are sticking to their guns, like Jeremy, and like he's never changed his mind and all that, and world-class bullshitters keep calling out, but there are certain people, yes, Doomcock, stay angry. I mean, I like Doomcock too, but he is going just a little too over the top and just finding things to vent his outrage. And Michael J. Crawford did bring up the point of fact of, where Doomcock is screaming, "Oh, Gene Roddenberry be rolling in his grave," and Michael J. Crawford points out, no, he wouldn't. He'd love Michael Burnham. And quite frankly, yeah, probably. I think he would object to how grim and dark Discovery and Picard are, but to the character of Burnham herself, no. Not. He'd probably love that. He just changed the tone. Now look, I'm kind of going on this off-scripted, of course. Most of my videos are just rambling videos of me presenting my thoughts, but I'm not to the point of anti-Trekker. But I'm also looking at certain people, like that Star Wars girl who I've met, Doomcock, and it's just like, you guys aren't being rational and logical anymore. You're flying in the face of logic. Like when anti-Trekker points out, when Anna says, Starfleet's the elite, they're the best of the best, and it's like, no, Anna, Starfleet's the fucking military. There are some that are creme de la crop, like the Enterprise, who, let's put this in pop culture reference. To be on the crew of the Enterprise, you basically have to be in technical terms, be a graduate of Top Gun. You have to be the top 0.5% of Starfleet to get a posting on that ship. There's like that one female ensign who, when Wesley Crusher came to visit off on leave from Starfleet Academy, she said she had to bust her ass, fight tooth and nail to get a posting on the Enterprise because it's the flagship of the fleet. That's where you send the very best and brightest out of any rank, too. That's why Miles O'Brien was on the ship, because let's face it, and granted, DS9 fleshed out his character just to prove, what kind of engineering badass he really was, but just to get a posting as a transport chief. That's how good O'Brien had to be just to be the transporter chief. Think about that. To get a posting on the Enterprise just to be a teleporter chief instead of chief of operations on DS9. That's how good Miles O'Brien had to be. He had to be the cut above the cut to be on the Enterprise, on the position he even had. Think about that. Now, Anna, look, I'm going to let you in on some secrets. And I don't mean to pick on Anna, but when I saw that comment, I'm just sitting there tilting my head going, really? Because I can give you, granted, they're anecdotal, they're just my personal stories, but I went into a unit where you have to be the best and the brightest in the Marine Corps to be attached to that unit. It's called the Radio Battalions. If y'all don't know, they're the signals intelligence units of the Marine Corps. And they only take the smartest people to be in that unit. In fact, one of my buddies, Jason, put it one fine day. Because brand new lieutenants think, oh, they're the smartest. Brand new lieutenants, when they get to our unit, have to be told, look, most of the enlisted under your command are just as smart as you are, if not smarter. Don't try to bullshit them. They'll see right through it and just laugh at you. The only reason they didn't become officers is because they chose not to be and they didn't want to. Which was very true. I could have just as easily put myself through 4 years of college, gone, ROTC, or, got my college degree and then gone to OCS. I didn't. I didn't want to put in that time and effort. I just wanted to get in the military and get going. And anyways, I also wanted to be a warrant officer. But the point still stands. As a butter bar, that's basically second lieutenant for the Marine Corps, Army, and the Air Force, or an ensign in the U.S. Navy, which the officer naval rank structure of Starfleet is based on the U.S. Navy. An ensign barely knows their ass from a hole in the ground. They are the privates of the officer corps. They basically know what they got taught in the academy, and most of the academy shit generally doesn't mesh all that well with how it actually works out in the fleet. Basically, they mold you into how to be a good officer. But the only thing that truly makes you a good officer or makes you a great enlisted is experience. Experience is the greatest teacher of all. Ensigns fresh out of the academy have basically none. Same thing with second lieutenants. Here, I'll give you a perfect anecdotal story. Now, when it comes to a Marine Expeditionary Unit, for the S2 section, the intelligence section, they have a very small permanent, detachment there that's usually like the S2 officer who was a major when I was there. He's got a gunny, got, what we call 2651 signals SIGINT, but, he does all the networking and stuff, and a couple of other odds and ends in the S2. Most of what will form the S2 has to be drawn from other units in the Marine Corps. Like, my detachment was 2 officers, 28 enlisted. We had 3 SIGINT support teams. We had radio reconnaissance, which was basically move sneaky, get dropped in really close to do the job. You had Muse team, which basically did our job out of a big 8-wheeled light armored vehicle. And then you had SST, which was my team, which could, hang our equipment out of the back of a helicopter, hang it off the side of a landing craft, or we can man pack, we can put it all in a couple of Humvees and do it. We're the modular team. We're the team you send in when RRT thinks they're too cool to do it, and Muse team can't do it because they can't yank their equipment out of their vehicle because it's bolted in. You send in SST. Then you have CI Human, which was one officer, a couple of staff NCOs, and a sergeant. Then you have guys from topography. You have guys from satellite imagery. You have the weather guys who get attached to S2 because all that goes into an S2 picture. So, as my detachment, we had 2 officers. We had a first lieutenant, who'd been around Raven Town a while, and we had a brand new, fresh out of the Naval Academy second lieutenant, who, bless her, she was a great person and grew to be a good officer, but off the bat was she clueless. And she was made a 2602, a signals intelligence officer, some of the best and the brightest in the Marine Corps. That girl knew next to nothing, and I mean next to nothing, about Radio Battalion. Girl had no fucking clue how most of our equipment worked, how we were employed, what equipment we actually had, and she's the executive officer of my detachment. In fact, one fine day, we're getting ready to do what's called S2 Interop, where all the sections who are being pulled from other units to form the S2 section for the Marine Expeditionary Unit about to kick out the door and start training, we all come together and, we have the initial meet and greet and briefings about what our capabilities are, what we bring to the table, and what we bring to the intelligence picture. So, Lieutenant Newhouse is getting radio battalions together. It's part of her, training and evolution as an officer. And she comes to me and it's like, Corporal Shawley, because I was a corporal at the time, I need a PowerPoint slides for Muse Team, because Muse Team at that time was off with their vehicle doing a little bit of, training. And there was no one there, and I knew enough about the equipment that I could put something together. So she asked me to do it, and I'm like, okay, fine, no problem, Lieutenant. And of course, I go up to make the PowerPoint slides, and then the Muse team leader, he came back from whatever they were doing, and I'm like, hey, Sergeant, I'm not going to say Sergeant M. I'm not going to say his name. And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, hey, I had to do a PowerPoint presentation on your team. Take a look at the equipment right quick, make sure I got it all correct. He comes over, takes a quick look, and like, okay, make this, and this change, and you're all good. And I'm like, good to go. Thanks, Sergeant M. He's like, yeah, sure, thanks for doing this for us, because he didn't want one of his guys yanked off to do it. So, we get to the interop briefing. The slides come up for each team. Apparently, Raider Reconnaissance had been there, so, she got the RT slides from that team. Muse team goes through, no problem. The lieutenant, in her infinite wisdom for my team, which has generally the same equipment, but different modules, different formats, and there's a couple of pieces of equipment on the Muse vehicle that we don't have, particularly in scanners. What she literally did was copy and paste the entire set of slides I had made for the Muse team and just use that for Radar Reconnaissance. And I'm going, not for Reconnaissance, from Muse team for my team. And I'm just sitting there, and she didn't even tell me, she just did it. And as the brief's going on, an SST comes up, and I'm like, oh no, oh my god. And my team leader, call him Harry, he goes, what? I'm like, she copied my slides from Muse team for SST. And Harry just kind of facepalm, looks down, just starts shaking his head like, oh god. And we get through the brief as, she basically said we had all the same equipment. I'm like, hey, Harry, so when do I get to play with those? He's like, dude, shut up. I'm like, okay, Harry. But yeah, that's how little the lieutenant knew about the equipment that her Marines used. That's how little. And if she just bothered to ask me to do more slides for SST, I could have easily done it because I knew all our equipment. I was pretty much one of the 2 gearheads on my team. I knew all the equipment. I've been a Raid Battalion by that point for 4 years. I knew pretty much knew every single piece of equipment that SST knew, except for maybe 1 or 2 pieces that were brand new at the time that I hadn't had a chance to play with yet. But everything else, I knew pretty much A to Z. That's why I was put on that team in the first place. I was a gearhead. I knew how to set it up. I knew how to break it down. I knew how to make sure it worked. I was the gear nut. But yeah, it's just not every officer who comes out of the academy, whether it's fictional or real, knows their ass from a hole in the ground. People who get sent to ships like the Starship Enterprise, regardless of whether it's no bloody A, B, C, D, or E, or if they have them, are, like I said, the best of the freaking best. These people are like Top Gun graduates assigned to a ship. All of them. They're the very best and brightest that Starfleet has to offer. That's why they're on that damn ship. Not every ship in the Federation can be that good. Some of them are just cargo haulers. Like some of those Mirandas aren't doing scientific exploration. They're probably, hauling a bunch of parts to the nearest starbase, and once they get done there, it's like, oh, take this cargo to this planet. And all they do is just grunge work. Where they're on a Miranda that is named some insignificant ship, and they're just plodding around the galaxy doing, supply runs. Or, they're getting stuck in some place that's already been thoroughly explored, but they need to, update the astrogation start, so they're doing astrogation work. That's bloody boring. It's like me in the signals intelligence field. Map the spectrum, which is one of the most labor-intensive, mind-numbingly boring missions you could possibly get. Been there, done that, it was not fun. Bored to fucking tears doing this stupid grunt work. And most starships in the Federation generally doing a boring grunt work. Stupid little shit. So, to Anna, to all those people who think Starfleet's the elite of the elite. Yeah, some ships get to do that kind of elite shit. Some ships get to go, be like the Enterprise and go off and do long-range deep space exploration missions. Most of them are just, you're either an over-glorified customs patrol agent or you're doing some kind of grunt labor work hauling supplies to and fro. Welcome to how Starfleet actually works. So, at the end of this long diatribe that's about 15 minutes, I'm just going to let you all know this. To wrap this all up and go back to my original point, the Fandom Menace, I think we're just nitpicking on certain things. But it gets us clicks, and that's why we do it. That's why certain people get 100, 200,000 people. Like Jeremy Griggs said it best. He's unapologetic about this. I go where the traffic is. I go what's going to get me clicks and grow my channel. At least he's honest about it. But certain people who are screeching every little itty-bitty thing wrong about Lower Decks and all that, it's like, get off your high horse a little. Stop looking for shit to be nitpicked about. I mean, truly, if something's going to piss you off, like cuties, for example, by all means, call it out. But if you're just sitting there nitpicking every little itty-bitty thing and just screeching bloody murder, because you've seen it before, it's like Michael Crawford even pointed out. If you had paid attention to episode 3, there are so many callbacks to Star Trek, actual Star Trek, like, you know, when they're talking about, you know, fudging that. They're making light of the fact that Scotty, to be a miracle worker, would fudge his numbers by a factor of 4, so it always looked like he did things faster than he actually was, you know, really supposed to do them. It's a joke on that, and they play it up for laughs, which, hey, why not? Or the fact that, you know, the Mikey Spock clone actually gets put in their fucking place in this episode. Ransom does it twice, and Doomcock forgot one of them when Ransom put her ass in the brig for, you know, insubordination. I was like, that's fucking hilarious. You know, the crew's actually starting to do their fucking job. But anyways, I've been ranting and telling you guys stories about how a military actually functions, and for all you people who say Starfleet isn't a military, you show me where the Federation Navy is when they fought the Dominion War, or the Klingon War and Discovery, for all of you Discovery fans out there who say Starfleet is just a peacetime. Bullshit. They're the military. Fucking deal with it. They have court martials. I'm Jeff. I'll catch you next time.